Well, hello, hello. I guess this was what I get for never being regular, right? I'm a little late. So I thought I would do just a live in case anybody wanted to join me because sometimes I just like to chat, see what people think. And you'll have to excuse me. It's cold, as if it's cold everywhere, I think. But so we have Brendan Banfield. And I'm curious as to what people think he could possibly say when he testifies. Um, I thought maybe people would have some kind of a thought on it or ideas because for the life of me, I can't think of anything that he could possibly say that would make any sense to me. So if we break it down, Brendan leaves his home and he goes to Mackie D's right up the street. And he hangs out there for a while, circles a parking lot, goes into the men's restroom. Heaven only knows how long he stayed in there because obviously he was waiting for his phone call. Now, when Juliana called him with this man in the house, um, I would think most normal people would have said call 911 or hung up and called 911 as they're driving home, if in fact that's the deal. Whether you like Juliana or not isn't the question. It's do you believe her? And quite frankly, she had a lot of information, in my opinion, that made it sound like she had a lot of insight to the crime. She knew too much and she was able to fill in a lot of details. So I don't know how he's gonna get past that, along with the fact let's take the 911 call, for example. So, Christine tells Juliana to call 911, and Juliana, I'm sure, even though she helped plan and they talked of this and I'm assuming she thought it was gonna be some kind of rush for her, uh, in fact, turned out probably to be one of the most horrific things she's ever taken part of in her life, and hopefully she won't ever do something like that again. So she calls 911. Brendan tells her, cut it. She cuts it. And then after the acts of violence have had time to take shape, then she calls 911 back with needing help. Her explanation to that was very good. So I wonder what his explanation to that's going to be, let alone the fact if Juliana was innocent, she wouldn't take a plea. Innocent people aren't going to take pleas. Um, I'm sure some do just to go on and get their life going, but I would venture to guess most don't. So she's sitting in jail and she's sending out these love letters because of course she still thinks she's in love with Brendan and still thinks Brendan's in love with her. And then through the time she's not hearing anything back. So she's starting to get a little angry and getting a little upset, starting to feel a little alone. And let's give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she's now getting nightmares from everything she's done. let's say it is weighing heavily on her mind. Um, I'm not going to say that it doesn't, and I'm not going to say that it wasn't, because for me, I don't see how you could partake in an activity like that and not be scarred for life unless you're just some kind of sicko out there. So her explanation of why she called 911 and hung up and then called back makes perfect sense to me. The people that have been reassigned or are no longer in that specific investigative field after this case, I'm curious if the prosecution is going to ask any of them. The bottom line is you were sent to another department because you messed this one up. For example, the forensic guy, he claimed that Christina had used her laptop, had never lost possession of it, I guess, and had used her laptop. If there's anybody else in your house with you, you're not going to know if somebody else is using your laptop. I mean, around here, even my phone, if you want my phone, you know my code to get in. So my husband or my daughter can pick it up and get in. My grandkids can't because that's why I have a code on it to keep them locked out so they don't, go everywhere. To get in my computer, they know how to get into my computer. Once you're in my computer, how many things do I have that you can go into because I have saved the password and the login ID. So when the defense was trying to say that um, Christine for sure was using it because they would then, you know, go to this adult website and then they would be on certain um, websites that Christine would go on. Well, duh, that doesn't mean it was Christine. Apparently, Brendan thought of all kinds of things, and he did it so well that the cops don't necessarily or didn't necessarily feel that he had anything to do with his wife's death. So, wouldn't you say that his plan almost worked? I mean, I know he's still on trial, but I just for the life of me can't. I don't see how he walks. It's either going to be a hung jury or guilty. There is no way he's going to be not guilty. It's just impossible. I don't see how they could possibly have him not guilty. And the other thing that we have is so the defense is putting on a case and the Commonwealth can still go on after that to dispute that evidence to bring in their people. So, I would think that the defense would want to be a little careful with what they're doing because the Commonwealth still gets a stab. They still get a stab at it. That's probably that's a horrible word to use in this situation. My apologies. I just wasn't thinking. I didn't mean to say that word. But um, for all intents and purposes, the plan he thought up to make it appear that it was Christine would have worked, at least according to the officers involved. Now, the other thing that I found very interesting when his attorney was playing the video, the body cam video, and you heard that Brendan had been informed that his wife had passed on. I heard a bunch of banging and I thought, "Oh my gosh, he's really acting, he fell over." But if you actually go and you look at that footage, it was just somebody in the hospital making a lot of noise. It wasn't Brendan falling or hitting anything or anything like that. So, I'm glad that they had a video to watch. Otherwise, you might have come off with the false sense of, "Oh, wow, he fell out." But he didn't. Of course, he didn't. Um, I can't think of anything. My mind, I can think of stuff, but what is he possibly gonna say? Has he thought up some elaborate plan to blame Juliana? Like, Juliana did all this and he didn't know? He just found out? Right. But her answers were really good, and, Brendan thought of a lot of things. He just didn't realize that he's not as smart as he thought he was, I guess. Just because you come up with all these things doesn't mean you're not making mistakes somewhere, and they'll be found. I don't see, honestly, how the Commonwealth would have been able to prove their case without Juliana. Of course, I'm sure there's a whole lot of evidence that they have that they could have put on that they didn't put on because they had Juliana to testify. And now we're all left with the, "Oh, well, if you believe Juliana, then he's guilty." How do you not believe Juliana? Because this plan was just so thought out and she can explain. Then they try to say, "Well, she was privy to all the evidence they had prior to making the deal." Still doesn't matter if you're innocent, right? If you're innocent, you're not gonna say, "Whoa, listen, this is what happened." If you're innocent, you're gonna be saying, you know, "They need to get me out of here. This is not fair. Shot Joe because he was coming after Brendan, and Brendan was trying to save Christine." If that would have been what was happening, then I think it would have been very easy to explain that. The fact that they moved her into the master bedroom so soon really does show that they really don't have any concern or care for anybody but themselves, right? But what about the little girl? Just all of a sudden, mom's gone, and Juliana is she's there, and we didn't see much interaction, but and I understand Juliana was like in a stressful, heightened anxiety, but it didn't seem like she was real loving with this child. I would think she would have been a little bit more loving with her. So that kind of bothered me. I think I need to do these videos and put who wants to talk because I come on here mostly just to talk. And I really wish people were here so they could give me their thoughts because it literally is just driving me crazy, keep thinking. So I just don't know. I don't know. Did Brendan call in sick that morning, or was he just planning on going in late? Because we know he left the house, he went to Mickey D's, and he's hanging out there for a while. Like like I could think of a lot of other places to go than McDonald's. I don't know. I just don't know. But what I do know is she knew he was at McDonald's. She knew where he was. So when she says he was up at McDonald's, all they had to do was go and get the tape, and there he was. So she had to know something, right? The fact that she posted their relationship on her social media, did Christine not know she had social media? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But she definitely had no respect for marriage vows, nor did he. I mean, I get it that he's the one that was married, but, um, he could have had respect for those vows. Could have spoken to his wife if he wasn't happy. If they couldn't work it out, then they could have been amicable. I can't say that word, but they could have gotten divorced where they get along really well and parent their daughter together. But he didn't want that either. He wanted it all to himself. Kind of makes me wonder if he has any siblings and how he was treated growing up because he just didn't seem to be able to handle the thought of sharing his little girl, which you wonder why, because I'm sure that the little girl was mom and the au pair's responsibility at all times. He just doesn't strike me to be a very loving, engaged father. Personally, when I look at him sitting there and I watch him, one of the things I wonder is what in the what in the ever loving hell is he writing all day? Maybe he was just trying to figure out how to come up with his story. I don't know. And I don't have any idea. I can't even imagine what he could possibly say about any of this. He was at McDonald's. Juliana called him because she was afraid because there was a strange car, which it didn't sound like a strange car. Maybe it was a car out of place or that didn't belong there, she had never seen, but strange? I mean, was it growing horns? Did it look devilish? Maybe it was coming after them. And then there's the question of why, if you felt there was danger in that home, did you take Juliana and your child into that home? Why did you not call for backup, as they say, even though you're FBI, not FBI, an IRS agent and are able to carry a firearm and know how to use it? Why didn't you call 911? It doesn't seem like they were that far away. They would have gotten there pretty quick. Actually, I think I would have called 911 on the way from McDonald's. I probably would have told Juliana, "Hang up right now and call 911." So that in itself makes no sense. Just that alone, it makes no sense. Moving Juliana into your room, what, within months, weeks? But yet you were in her room until y'all got the master bedroom fixed back up, replaced Christine's pictures with Juliana and you. Like, totally, totally wipe out your wife, right? I don't know. I don't know. So I'm not going to hang on here very long. I would have stayed on and chatted more, but I, for the life of me, can't comprehend what he may say in his defense because, like I said, he should have been calling for help, and he shouldn't have taken Juliana and his daughter into that house. He didn't care very much for their safety. They were safer in their car. They could have left them in the car while 911 if he wanted to rush in and be a hero. Pretty sad. Pretty sad. I guess that it doesn't matter how old I get. I guess I'm always going to be amazed at the evilness that lurks around. And, it would be interesting to know what her friends thought of Brendan and she of their relationship or anything along those lines, but we haven't heard any of that. I have, Grizzly True Crime, I think it's Grizzly True Crime. She has an excellent breakdown, and she has videos that while we're watching the court with no videos, she has videos that she can show of what was seen in there. So she does really great job. Emily D. Baker came in really late on this one. I've watched her just because if she's doing something, I've got to see it because 99% of the time my reaction is the same as her reaction, and I I, I feel like if she feels the same way I do, then I got it right. You know what I mean? So I enjoy that. But I just wanted to see if anybody else had any thoughts or ideas, and if you do, please leave them in the comments. I'll read them and respond because I really had hoped that we could just chat about it. Um, you have to excuse my mess as Texas and freezing. I mean, I know it's freezing in a lot of different places, but I made a couple of blankets and some burp cloths, and I think I still have 2 blankets to sew, and, can't remember what else I've got going over there in my little sewing section, and then after I get that done, I wanna do some sublimation on some T-shirts, and I've got some gifts to make, so I'm gonna do that later, but I just wanted to come on and see if any of my folks had any ideas, and, thank you if you do tune in, and please give me your opinion because I was really hoping to get some feedback on my mind is just like blocked. It can't come up with anything that would be right for him to say. So I hope everybody stays warm and healthy, and our ice should be gone tomorrow. Kids still no school, and we've got a lot of rural homes out here, and those back roads, they don't just clean up real easy. So it's been a nice few quiet days. We were blessed. We were fortunate. We never lost any power. So just snug as a bug in a rug. So y'all have a good day and come back and see me. And please chat. Let me know what you think. Just throw it out there. Bye.